Do I have your permission, sir?
But it's going to be reciprocated. Just it has to be.
My arms are longer. Here's the real question. Is it, for these masks, is it mask blue side out
Yes,
or white side out?
color out.
Is yours color out?
What are you doing?
Mine's
Slug
white
it?
on the other side.
Oh! I just don't know where to look.
Oh,
Do we look directly at it?
you have freedom in there. Wanted... Dang it. Oh no, we're not gonna get anything done. Hey everybody, Sean here, and I'm with some of my favorite friends and family. Well, they're both friends.
Not family, because you're family to me.
Burn.
Hey everybody, I'm Sean here. I'm with my one family member. I'm excited to bring you a different kind of Thirsty Thursday. I'm here with two of my best friends and family. And this is Aaron McGinn, Emily Day, and both of them are nurses. They're on the front lines of taking care of our world. Is that safe to say? I mean, they take
Community?
care of every single-
Community. Let's narrow it down.
Our world.
We're nearby.
Everyone
Stay
is
local.
being taken care of by these guys. And I wanted them to come on Thirsty Thursday and just share a little bit of their experience as a nurse in this season. It was incredible. John Krasinski, it was amazing with some good news. We got to hear updates and some awesome positive things about what's going on in our nation while COVID was hitting. And since John left, everybody's like, what do we do? And there kind of feels like there's been this gap. I don't know if you've experienced this, but from my perspective, it feels like, man, we haven't necessarily been able to hear some of the incredible stuff that's been going on in the hospital. Obviously some heavy stuff and difficult things, but I wanted to bring these two on to just share some of their experience during this season, to share a little bit of what it's been like being a nurse in this time of COVID and this national worldwide pandemic. So without further ado, this is Aaron McGinn. Aaron, what are you drinking?
Nitro cold brew.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And how long have you been rocking the stash?
April somewhere?
Okay. So would you say it's a COVID stash?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Is that a thing?
It's a requirement of COVID.
It's you have to.
It's a third filter.
This is the biggest ward off I have. COVID comes. Like I've had a couple
People
times.
stay 6 feet away from
I've
you.
seen the COVID dust come and just go, oh, never mind, and turn around.
And this is Emily Day. Emily, what are you drinking?
Cold brew with vanilla and oat milk.
Okay, I'm drinking a decaf latte.
You want to drink some like actual caffeine?
I guess I'm not a nurse.
Too late.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, coffee all day.
You'll get to know these guys as we're talking. They're super fun to be around and be with. But let me just start. What things do you enjoy about being a nurse?
Man, I feel like when you talk about enjoying being a nurse, there's always like a little cheese factor there. Like, well, I get to help people out. But truly, like that's what's been super cool. Recently with COVID, hospitals have been trying to figure out what's the right solution to keep spread down. How do you prevent the spread of COVID? And one of the ways that that's happened at a lot of hospitals is preventing visitors from approaching the family members. And so in a huge way, like we're nurses, but we're also the only visitor they get that day. And that's been very a cool space to fill, more so than usual in this season, to go into a patient's room and know that I might be their one person that they could have a human interaction with.
Something I've enjoyed coming out of the season is, I think, just the innovation that we've noticed, like in general as a health career specialty. Taking, I just feel like a switch was flipped one day and like here we're thrown into this and we have to figure it out. And just seeing how like innovative and flexible and crazy collaborative people have been has been just really cool to be a part of. I'm proud to be a part of it. Yeah, I think that's something that I've enjoyed seeing happen in this season.
What's been something that has been really difficult?
Totally butting off what Aaron said for his first response there. The most difficult part, and I think you and I have talked about this, is the fact that visitors have been restricted. And kind of flashing back to when this first started, no visitors were allowed, whether you had COVID or not. So being a nurse in the ICU, that's been an incredibly heavy burden at times to take on, because this person may be literally experiencing the last breaths of your life, and you're having to FaceTime family member. So that's been interesting to walk through, and I'm so thankful that I have incredible people in my life like Aaron to kind of lean on, because unless you've experienced that, you can't take that home and explain that to anyone. It's not going to make sense, so yeah.
I think what's interesting is seeing just the level of fear and uncertainty right now. You want to care for your patient, and at no point do you want to think of them as a threat or your enemy to your well-being. And man, there's so many times now where you have a patient that isn't doing well and you don't know why they're not doing well, and now
and instantly
you're thinking,
COVID.
Is it COVID? And have I been exposed? And this is my second night with this patient.
Right.
So my wife's been exposed through me. Where does it stop, and how big is the risk that I'm taking on? And then you just gotta swallow that and go,
Totally.
But this patient needs me. That's definitely been probably the hardest part. And watching that with my peers too, because there's a extra sense of burden where you see that nurse is the first one on your floor getting the COVID patient or the patient that's being ruled out, and you're wondering, are they going to be here a long time, or is this nurse are they going to be coming in a couple weeks?
And you don't want it to put blinders on your care, You don't want just to assume that this is what it is, so there's no other option. And I think it's hard to filter out the fear and still be present and just paying attention to everything that's happening, changes that are happening in your patient. So I don't know, I've caught myself a few times just being no, it's not COVID, calm down, calm down. Remember, there's 1,000 other diseases and processes that existed before COVID was a thing. Get back to the basics.
Yeah.
Refocus your attention. I think just nursing in general is such a twisted career to be in. One moment you could be celebrating some huge milestone for a patient and his wife's anniversary, say, and the next moment you're getting called to feed someone their Jell-O, and the next moment you're doing CPR, and all of this is happening at once. And you have to put on the same face for each of those people and pretend like nothing else in the world is happening when you're with that person. So, it was a weird career to begin with. We're weird people. You have to be weird to be able to do that, and then go home and treat your spouse with respect and love your kid and maintain a household. It's just a weird, thing to have to be able to handle. So I think knowing that is just on steroids now, because you then bring into play family's not there, these people are alone, suffering is still happening, and I'm your nurse today,
I know, obviously, honoring HIPAA, and so I'm not sure exactly what can be shared and what can't. You guys know that more, but stories are always powerful. I don't know if you have a story that is something that you've kind of experienced through this season that's just been impactful or encouraging or hard.
The hardest one for me was initially when we started to screen incoming patients. As I was leaving work, my dad and his daughter were coming into the ER, and they screened him, and he had a fever. And so he's walking in for whatever reason he needs to come in for. And they say, "Oh, you have a fever." They kind of swarm him a little bit. It was all like the scene in Monsters, Inc. almost.
Yeah.
And they're putting a mask on, getting him in a wheelchair, bringing him in. And that was just heartbreaking to think that this guy might be coming in for a stomach ache, and now he has to wonder, does he have COVID? And this was early when COVID, I think, was much more of a death sentence in an American's mind initially. And it's, am I going to be like Italy or New York? And he had decided to say goodbye to his daughter right then and there. And there was no real time to say goodbye.
I can like vividly remember we had this emergency meeting when all this happened with some leaders on my unit. I remember sitting there and we were going through this disaster plan. Like, what are we going to do if we become New York? And we've got 3 patients in a room, all on ventilators. We're making ventilators. And I'm sitting there literally feeling like I'm going to barf. Like, no way is this going to happen, but maybe it will. I don't know. It was kind of in that moment, kind of driving home, I'm like, okay, am I going to let myself spiral down this drain that the enemy totally wants me to spiral down? Or am I going to choose to be positive and optimistic and maybe a little naive? And I was just like, no, I have to choose to just keep pushing forward. Like, I have to be able to show up. I'm not going to be rational if I'm scared. I'm not going to be able to provide care if I'm scared, show up for my family if I'm scared. So it was just kind of really just like this split moment I had in my head. It was like, okay, am I going to spiral? No, I have to stop and just be at peace with this.
Hey, I just want to say thanks. Thanks for being on here. Thanks for chatting with me. And honestly, the biggest thing is thanks. Thanks for doing what you're doing.
Oh, sure.
Thanks for showing up day in, day out, serving people, loving people. It means the world. And just even what you were both kind of hinting at, that for a long time now we have some visiting rights. I didn't even know that, but some ability for people to come and visit. Like, for the longest time, you guys were literally the only connection these patients had. And thank you.